The story of Patarunigosh Rhonda is unlike one you've likely ever heard of. People from all over the world love to enjoy characters featured in fairy tales. Usually, we're able to figure out that these people actually don't exist in real life. There's an element of magic associated with these creatures. Well, Rhonda might be the major exception to this stunning role. As you learn her story, you'll be utterly shocked at how she's been living for the last 20+ years. Dating back thousands of years, different cultures had various descriptions of what they'd refer to as a half-human/half-fish. You'd see this creature written about in literature. In fact, there's a very famous example of a mermaid which became prevalent in the 1800s thanks to one very talented Danish writer. In fact, you probably know who this mermaid is. You can even visit a statue of her in the city of Copenhagen. Author Hans Christian Andersen was responsible for coming up with the Little Mermaid. A statue of the famous literary character still stands to this day in Copenhagen. Later, Disney adapted the story into a highly popular cartoon, and a real-life film is soon to come. With mermaids being so popular, it's not surprising that Rhonda became a very sought-after person when a random news crew stumbled upon her. According to reports, Rhonda lives in a remote village in the area of West Bengal, India. She is said to be a tribal woman, where life is simple, and the priorities include enjoying life on a day-to-day basis without the modern conveniences of high-level technology and the like. Rhonda is just like your average 70-year-old woman for the most part. However, there is something rather special about her. Unfortunately for Rhonda, her community is living in some severe poverty. She isn't able to enjoy many of the things most around the world take for granted. As such, she's also one of many without the exposure to the outside world. This includes media and television, but also medical help. As she's gotten older, a debilitating medical issue has gotten worse without the proper help she needs. Family members have begun to worry about Rhonda. They don't have the means nor resources to help her medically. In fact, she likely has not even had a proper diagnosis for what she's dealt with. This affliction is not a recent development. In fact, Rhonda has had this physical ailment for over 20 years. As you'll soon learn, the issue is no walk in the proverbial park. In 1998, Rhonda started to notice something occurring with her skin. It wasn't acting the way it normally did, and it started to turn a different color. From there, her skin became flaky and somewhat sore. The itching became too much to handle. Essentially, one would think Rhonda has some form of psoriasis. Without proper medical help, Rhonda needed to figure out a remedy, and quick. Interestingly enough, no one would have even known about Rhonda had it not been for one media publication. Somehow, a publication out of Russia learned about Rhonda's story. She started popping up on Russian blogs and media outlets. What was so special about Rhonda's condition? Well, it's not so much as to what's special about it. It's rather what Rhonda did to try and treat her skin issues. Rhonda couldn't go to the nearest city to seek medical attention. Her family reportedly doesn't have the financial means to make this happen. As such, she had to be creative in finding another way to stop the perpetual itching on her skin. As such, Rhonda decided 20 years ago to wake up at dawn when the sun came up. She then would walk to a local lagoon, where a pretty yet quiet lake sat. For 12 to 14 hours a day, Rhonda literally sits in the same lake while submerged underwater. The cooling effect of the water is said to be a soothing help for her constant itching. However, for as strange as this behavior may be, there are a couple of questions to ask. For one, how does she eat/what does she eat? Secondly, does she actually sleep in the water as well? Of course, the media coverage of Rhonda, stemming primarily from Russia and now into the United States, has caused quite a stir. Though she lives in a very remote village, it hasn't stopped millions of people from learning about her condition. Wanting to be clickbait-ish in nature, some have even gone as far as to call her the real-life version of a mermaid. When reading deeper about her story, there are some concerns. Being a slender, elderly woman, many of course worry that Rhonda might not be getting the nutrients she should be given her standing. It's not exactly easy for her to take a quick trip to the local shop or grocery store. Given her surroundings, along with her propensity for not leaving the water, people have had to be creative with her food intake. As such, Rhonda primarily is said to eat rice and vegetables. Some of the locals are quite nice to her, They'll bring her food and will clearly have the respect that is very present within Indian culture towards their elders. However, there are also some skeptical of her. Rhonda's behavior isn't normal, and in smaller villages, this could be perceived as a sign of something more serious and even sinister. Some in the village are a bit more skeptical of Rhonda and feel as if the story goes beyond just skin irritation and inflammation. Reportedly, there are those who feel as if supernatural forces are at play. Linked to various colloquial tales and stories, Rhonda is now being billed as a spirit who lives among humans. Some think she'll become the spirit of the lake when she passes. Others believe she possesses magical powers. According to reports, her family would love nothing more than to take her to a doctor. The village just doesn't provide the resources needed to make that a reality. As such, Rhonda is left as soaking in the lake, essentially becoming a mermaid-esque figure who lives in water. However, barring the reality that she can hold her breath underwater for large chunks of time akin to magician David Blaine. How long does Rhonda actually spend in the lake per day? Rhonda will wake up at sunrise and head for the lake. Gradually throughout the day, she will be greeted with locals/family members. They'll chat about daily musings, and she'll be offered food such as vegetables and rice. After nearly 14 hours daily in the water, Rhonda will leave the lake and return back home to sleep. She seemingly does this every single day, and has done this every day since 1998. As stated earlier, her story has been picked up by various media outlets in multiple countries. The family is hoping a doctor can somehow take a look at Rhonda's condition as a means to help her. Though these outlets have reported on her story, there's no word on whether she's being helped financially or not from the coverage. Based on the duration of her affliction, hopefully, help can come quick. Though Rhonda is living in a typical life, there's a sense of comfort here. She enjoys sitting in the cool water, which floats up to her neck. She's constantly splashing around, bathing herself in the water as a reprieve from the inflammation and itching. In a sense, despite having a physical house she goes to at night, she considers the lake itself to be a home away from home. This must be agonizing, knowing that the only source of happiness comes from sitting in the same refreshing lake. Rhonda can't live her life like others in the village. She can't travel to distant lands or play with children in the fields. Instead, she is forced to deal with her skin issues in a way which demands dedication, time, and repetition. There's something so tragic about her life in this condition. Though she is now called the Indian Mermaid, Rhonda's life is far from a happy one. She's shackled by the extreme itchiness and constant pain. Though the lake looks beautiful and the surroundings are tropical in nature, it still acts somewhat as a glorified prison to which Rhonda is confined. It really does put things in perspective for many of us who live lives without such an issue.